new Rite of the Nine dungeon event is live along with a new title, Eternal. In order to acquire this title, you're going to need to do the 3 new dungeons on Ultimatum Mode with a gold score as a part of it. So we're going to go over the first dungeon for the event, Spire of the Watcher, the changes for the event, and some tips for the very challenging Ultimatum Mode. To start, let's talk about the gold score mechanic. For each of the main 3 encounters, you can have a maximum of 1 death total as an entire fire team. This is a very punishing mechanic, especially with how hard everything hits in this version of the dungeon, so you absolutely want to focus on survivability as much as possible. Some things I would have set up for the entire dungeon to help facilitate this are 100 resilience, a siphon mod for whatever your main add clear weapon of choice will be on your helmet, and recuperation on your boots, making orbs into heal packs, which is essential due to the goblins becoming damaging vex pools when killing them throughout the dungeon. Let's go over the changes in each encounter. Starting with the opening, the Arctrician mechanic is exactly the same as normal. I'd recommend waiting to shoot the final node for each section until you can shoot all 4, as this will avoid spawning in extra exploder harpies while running. The change for this area comes after you finish the path for all 4 nodes. Here a Hydra boss will spawn in called Amphion Awakened Mind. Note that before dealing with this boss, I'd recommend dealing with the wave of adds that spawns in middle, including the newly spawned Exploder Harpies, as well as the 4 Cyclopses that will spawn instantly on the mountains above you to the left and right sides. Do note that these will be spawning in throughout the encounter like normal as well, but all 4 will spawn in when the boss does. As far as I'm aware, you have infinite time to kill this boss, so keep the arena clean by clearing everything else first, then focus on boss damage when it is safe to do so. Do note that there is no gold score for this part, but you do still only have your team's 3 res tokens. For the first true encounter, our first main change is that we are now timed. You have 5 minutes to complete the entire encounter from the time you kill the first Minotaur to start the encounter. And remember, to get the gold score, you can only have a maximum of 1 death as a team. There will also be some lovely tracking detainment bubbles sprinkled throughout this encounter. These are pretty clear to see at a distance, and once you proc it to start tracking, you can shoot them to stop yourself from getting detained, and I'd recommend doing so, but definitely keep these in mind as a poorly timed detain can absolutely get you killed in a hurry. Once again, the Arctrician buff will work exactly the same as normal. Note that if you are out of practice or haven't really run the Arctrician mechanic before, I'd highly recommend using the new Explorer Mode feature to practice this and feel more comfortable with where the nodes are for each of these encounters, as Ultimatum Mode is definitely not the place you want to be learning that on the fly. After finishing the 2 nodes for each floor, the elevator up will be locked until you kill a special set of extra adds. For the first floor, this is 3 Harpies. They aren't too hard to kill, but also be aware of the Hydras that can come in from the sides and somewhat pinch you near the elevator. They don't need to be killed, but probably should be, especially if they are putting pressure on your survival. At the end of the second floor, there will be a Hydra, along with, again, extra Hydras coming from the side. The main Hydra in the middle is quite tanky, so saving some supers and ammo for this part is highly recommended. This Hydra also seemed to like to float down and around into Narnia, and it seemed like maybe kinetic tremors was causing this, but it also did this at least once otherwise. It will eventually teleport back up, though, if it does this. After completing the final set of nodes on the top floor, you will face 1 more giant Minotaur boss that you will need to kill before the timer runs out. Keep an eye out for the Exploder Harpies and Hydras that may be coming from the sides here, but other than that, just kill the boss and you will have completed Encounter 1. As for loadout here, I ran Song of Flame with Speaker's Sight for the healing turret, and I ran a sniper and machine gun as well, with the machine gun being very helpful for both add clear and supportive damage on the various boss-like enemies, and the sniper doing well for these enemies too, while also helping with the Hydras, especially with anti-barrier sniper, allowing you to shoot through their shields. Next, let's talk about the Harpy boss. Here we have our first change to the Arctrician mechanic. You'll notice that when the encounter starts, there are going to be 4 shapes shown in the middle vertically, with a shape on each of the 4 starting nodes as well. You'll need to ensure that you do the paths in the order shown to you, starting from the top. Note that you can have multiple people running different paths simultaneously, as the only nodes that matter is the ending node that finishes the corresponding starting node. Just make sure to communicate ahead of time the order that you need to finish the paths, and don't complete your path until your symbol is next. You can also just take it a little bit slower and stay together, and this may be recommended in terms of survival and making sure the adds die and you guys stay alive. As with the usual encounter, when you finish the final node, the boss will come over to you and you'll need to shoot all the eyes to start damage phase. Queensbreaker worked really well here for a very comfortable 3-phase. Having a well for the damage phase itself will give you an easy damage buff as well as some safety from many adds that may stay up during the damage phase. 2 tips here for this encounter are to first focus on any Banes that spawn in, which is really true of the entire dungeon, to be honest. We had one run where a supernova was up that we just didn't clear and didn't actually see, and it hid behind the boss right as we started damage, just to blow us up and insta-kill us. Second, killing one of the 2 Minotaurs that spawns in and keeping the second one alive will prevent the next 2 Minotaurs from spawning in. This is also true of the final boss as well. Their Void Blast cannons can be menacing, especially depending on which side they are on and which nodes you are working on. Obviously, if you need a refresh on Arctrician, or they're just getting in your way, you're going to want to kill the second one, but I'd recommend to go ahead and kill one of the 2 new ones that spawn in when you do this, so that again, there's only one one extra Minotaur alive. I'd also highly recommend loadout swaps for this encounter, as well as the final boss. Setting up your mechanics phase setup helmet with Heavy Finder, Heavy Scout, and a Siphon mod, your boots with Arc Scavenger and Recuperation, and your class item with Special Finisher, while not running any other armor charge using mods, will allow for the stowing of armor charge for damage phase, as well as optimize your ammo economy and survivability. You're going to want your DPS loadout to include triple arc surges, assuming you're running Queensbreaker, with your helmet changing to Powerful Friends and Radiant Light in order to help your teammates get armor charge in case they don't already have it for their surges, and the class item with Time Dilation to extend your armor charge to ensure you are keeping up uptime on your surge damage buff. The transition areas to the final boss will teach you one of the boss encounter changes. Normally, for each drop-down section here, you need to shoot all 5 of the nodes within a few seconds of starting. This is still true here, but additionally, now only one of the 5 will be open and shootable, and once that one is shot, one new node will open up. This randomizes each time that you do it, so I'd recommend getting a feel for where all 5 nodes are, and again, these are in the exact same spots as they have always been in this dungeon, but before starting to shoot any of them, do this, so that you are able to quickly check them on each floor and shoot them quickly. Or just, again, you can always have your whole team be ready to shoot them, and then there's only 5, and each person checks 2. Not too difficult there, but definitely want to make sure you're ready for it, the new mechanic here. Now let's talk about the final boss, Persys. This encounter is definitely the most daunting and difficult of this dungeon, so you're going to want to bring your A++ game here. The changes here don't start right away, as you will need to kill the 2 Hydras to start it up as normal. This will spawn in the Minotaurs to give you Arctrician in order to shoot the nodes in the middle in order to open up the doors. However, for these nodes in the middle, just like in the transition area, only one node is going to be active at a time, and a new one will only open up as you shoot each one. As normal, you'll still need to be able to shoot all 5 of these nodes in total within about 10 seconds of starting. Playing your life is still, though, more important here, as there is no punishment for needing to redo it all, other than taking a little bit longer and giving you, being in danger potentially longer. As longer you're in this encounter, the more chances you have of dying. Once you've shot all 5 of these nodes in the center, there will be 6 of those tracking traps that we saw earlier in the first encounter that spawn. There's going to be 3, one near each of the doors on the close side of the room, and 3, again, one kind of in each corner of the room in the very far back side of the room. I'd recommend trying to focus on getting rid of these ASAP when it is safe to do so, as an unexpected detain means almost certain death in this encounter. From here you will have this same mechanic as the Harpy, showing you which set of nodes you need to finish first, going from top to bottom. Once again, it only checks the order when you shoot the final node in the path, so you can work on them simultaneously, but it may just be better to not do that in order to ensure that you don't accidentally finish the wrong node, especially if the final nodes are next to each other or just get hit by a wayward shot. Our team setup included 1 runner, 1 player ad clearing in the far back room spawn camping the enemies, and 1 person on boss aggro duty, calling out if the boss lost interest in them. This felt like the smoothest way to get to damage phase cleanly and consistently after trying multiple different strategies. Once you finish the final node, making sure the boss is in the back room before doing so as normal, you'll need to lock him in using the new mechanic that you just learned, where you shoot the active open nodes in whatever order that they open up within a few seconds of each other. For damage, we used a Divinity with 2 Queensbreakers. As the Divinity player, I ran Cenotaph, Mask, and Song of Flame. We tried some runs with Well of Radiance, but the Well wasn't overly helpful towards survival once he got down on us, especially without a Bolt Charge Titan staggering him a bit more. Now, if you do have a Titan on the team, an Arc Titan with the Bolt Charge aspect is highly recommended and very helpful here. I used my Song of Flames damage reduction to literally face tank the boss out in front of my 2 Hunter teammates, while keeping Divinity on as much as possible to make hitting crits with Queensbreaker much easier. Again, if your team has a Titan, I've heard and seen Thunderlord do quite well here as well with the Bolt Charge, but it probably isn't so doable without a Titan. Void Resist is also very helpful for this encounter in order to survive the boss. Based on my experience, you aren't really going to survive a collision with one of the Exploder Harpies, so I wouldn't really worry too much about setting up against them. One final tip is that after damage phase, you can go to the far back rooms as the boss is going to be locked in the raid flag room, and you can pretty much be safe in that back room to do any sort of loadout swaps or kind of just gather yourself a little bit, and also even kill the Hydras that come in after your damage phase. Do note that there may be a couple ads in here from before still or moving around, so make sure you clear those ads first, make sure it's all safe first, but there will be no more ads that spawn back here until you start up with the mechanics again. Also remember that once again you can only have one death as a team for the gold score, and you only get 3 phases to kill the boss, otherwise he will enrage and insta-wipe you. So you're going to need a very solid mix of survival, damage, knowledge, and skill to complete this encounter. That's all for my guide to the Gold Ultimatum version of Spire of the Watcher. Do note that I will be trying to do helps for this on my stream for those who think they're up to the task throughout the lead up to the new expansion. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.